Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, December 31st. Happy New Year and all of that. So, I'm gonna start off with a bit of a warning to say that I'm probably not gonna go for very long. Because it's the end of the year, there's really not a lot going on as far as new news to talk about. And I'm still in the middle of trying to adjust my sleep schedule and insomnia so that I'm in the right time. So we're streaming at the right time, but I haven't been to sleep probably in about 20 hours. So I'm going to start getting sleepy and fall asleep here. We need to play Paladin class cards. Okay. So Odd Paladin, I think, is what I've got. That might work. Well, no, I have Shield Paladin. Let's just hope it continues this winning streak I was on. But even if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. I have been recording episodes for Black Mirror 3. Unrelated to the video game Black Mirror. That point-and-click series. I played the interactive movie on Netflix, Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Personally, I think Black Mirror Bandersnatch is an awful video game. It's about an average quality, I would say, Black Mirror episode, but that's not really saying much because compared to like Twilight Zone episodes, which are the pinnacle of anthology sci-fi and fiction, Black Mirror does not hold up a candle to that. I've heard people for years and years now rant and rave about how good Black Mirror is, and it just really isn't. None of the episodes are ever even good enough that I'd want to watch them a second time. Bandersnatch is a terrible game though because it just does not respect the player at all. Your decisions don't matter. Many times I would want to do something and the game would tell me, no, you have to go back. No, you have to go back. And it just wasn't that fun. The story itself does not feed itself well into a video game either because it's an incredibly slow story that it's telling. The decisions you make often are inconsequential, but at other times your decisions later on in it are so consequential that you're changing the very fabric of reality based on your decision. So no longer are you just influencing the main character in the story, you're influencing everything and anything around the main character. And yeah, I eventually got what I suspect is the true ending and the good ending. And yes, apparently if you're in the credits, they play what would be, I guess, a ZX Spectrum cassette audio file. That if you were to play that audio file into a ZX Spectrum computer or emulator, it would actually play a game that is mentioned briefly in the show, but there's probably way easier ways to play that game now. I'm sure somebody's just made a website for it.
The light protects me.
I did watch a video talking about some of the other endings, and there seems to be that I missed a couple options, a couple branching paths, but there really aren't that many branching paths, and it all seems really silly. One of the silliest parts is there's a point where you can call a phone number and you can enter a 4-digit number. So it's an emergency when you're calling this phone number. So it's set in the 80s, it's set in the UK. So I dialed 999, which is the UK's equivalent to 911. No Easter egg, no recognition. It literally just played a default response that says that number is not in service, which is crazy. Unless I'm just so out of it that in the 80s it would have been something like 01999. But I doubt that would have been the case. Maybe if I went back there was no way to go back actually and try different numbers, oddly. So maybe if I tried 911, just because Netflix is trying to be more US centric, maybe something would have happened then. But that was definitely not the number that they wanted you to call, and it was a 4-digit number, so like you know it's an old number anyways. Like when you're not even up to 7 or 10 digits.
Reporting for duty.
But this is one of those cases too, certainly, where I feel like other people may have had a lot of fun with it and ranted and raved about it, but I'm always going to forever be a critic, so my criticism is going to come off as negative. I will say, to its own testament, even though it didn't run on my TV, which is kind of an older TV, but not that old. It's a smart TV, it's a Vizio. The Minecraft story mode ran on my TV, but it ran very sluggishly, had very noticeable long load times after every decision. Black Mirror Bandersnatch, on the other hand, running off my phone, did a very good job of hiding those load sections and making them look like they are just fade to black and fade in sections. There was no real interactivity though, other than choose your own adventure, except for in the single instance of calling that phone number. Every other time you're given exactly 2 options, or perhaps sometimes you're given just one option. Sometimes you're given one option and then it says skip to the credits, which is just like a give up option as best as I can tell. I don't think if there is some kind of Easter egg to skip to the credits after you've failed, that anybody would actually do that, and figured out that that was the case. The game Black Mirror Bandersnatch starts you down a path of thinking that the story is about the development of a video game, and if you take like 10 minutes in, you're offered to, the main character is offered to work in this new startup computer programming company and get all the support he needs to make the game, and it sounds like a really good deal because this kid, that's the main character, like, seems like it's his first job and such, too. It's like, so it at first glance seemed like that was totally the right move, and it still probably would have been the right move, but then that was a game over scenario that was clearly designed to make most people fail in that instance. And so I clicked on it, yes, accept the help at work, work with this team, and it shows you this video game reviewing TV show that I'm pretty sure never really existed, and they review your game very harshly and say it's designed by committee and it's just missing passion and soul. And so then you have to go back in the first 10 minutes. That's it. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a little bit more flexibility in their programming, if they had programmed both options there to fail immediately. That way you have to fail the story in the first 10 minutes, because that's really what the whole thing is built around. It is about failing, at least at a certain level. and starting over, going back and making slightly different choices. There has been a lot of talk about Black Mirror Bandersnatch, like there's 5 hours of content in it. Yeah, probably, but that's the equivalent of saying that there probably was 60 hours in Avengers Infinity War of content. Yeah, it's probably true, but it doesn't mean anything.
The light protects me.
A lot of that content would have been repetitive. A lot of it would be very much just slight differences. It's really about an hour and a half of an experience. Also, speaking of movies, watched Avengers Infinity War, and I hated that too. The thing about Avengers Infinity War is it just made it so freaking obvious how much time has been wasted in all the previous Marvel movies.
I fight.
The fact that the minions of Thanos, the children of Thanos, are just unrecognizable, and I didn't even catch their names, let alone know anything about them, and they're the big bad guys until Thanos shows up, is a problem. The fact that there's so many heroes in that movie is a problem. I guess maybe if they decide not to bring back a lot of those people in the sequel, that they could adjust for that, but generally speaking, like, the first big bad in, like, Iron Man very possibly could have been one of the children of Thanos. Then when they could come back, and then there would have been a lot more impact. Or, you know, you could have done it the other way. You could have added something that isn't in the comics, where Thanos has the ability to bring back all the bad guys from the previous movies, all the people who have traumatized and stricken fear into the superheroes, and now they're even stronger, and they're like in an undead shadow form. That would have been cool too. There's way too much time spent moving characters around in Avengers Infinity War. There's way too much time spent like watching Thanos collect the Infinity Stones when it had been teased and pretty well known that he was going to get them all as soon as they started showing them in all the previous movies. So every after credits scene in the many previous Marvel movies, it could have just been shown Thanos there collecting the stones instead of just showing the stones and hinting that Thanos might be coming, because they hinted at Thanos was coming for years and years and years, and then it really only took them two and a half hours to arrive on Earth, collect all the Infinity Stones, and achieve his goals. It's just like way too easy for him. You could have easily had everybody, all the superheroes, start in Wakanda because of a summit, or because Doctor Strange teleported everyone there. If you need to have an A and B plot, you could have a second group of people in space, but you literally had like an A, B, C, D, E, and F plot going on in the movie. The first hour and a half of the movie is kind of pointless completely. You can pretty much skip it. Just skip straight to an hour and a half of the 2.5 hour movie, and you'll have maybe a decent experience at that point.
The light protects me.
Let's see if we can get this to work. There we go. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of movies. Well, a couple movies. And I've been playing Black Mirror 3. Black Mirror 3 is an awful point-and-click game, the third in a series of awful point-and-click adventure games with mundane actions and goals and just boring natural style in which things happen. Often you'll just be told you need to do something, but there's no logical reason why what you're doing is going to actually move the story forward at all. And there's never really a solid goal about what you're trying to do or what you need to do, and things just kind of happen, and then time moves forward, and then something just happens again. So far from what I've seen, I'm on the 5th act, or I think the 6th act actually. And all I've done is wander around the same city area over and over again, which is just stretching for time. It's pretty obvious. So yeah, I'm not having a great time, but I'm almost finished with it, so I can move on to the next game after that. And then I wanted to put out this bit of news too. Unless I just have a major mood swing at some point, I'm thinking I'm not going to do an end of the year video this year, and it's frankly for one major reason. If I honestly start talking about how 2018 went, I'm not 100% certain that I wouldn't end that video with me quitting YouTube, because it was just so bad. So yeah, knowing that and leaving it at that, I don't think there's a need to do that video. I did a bunch of other videos instead, a bunch of follow list cleanup videos and lots of other things to watch, so I'm thinking I'm gonna just leave it with that, unless I just have, again, a major mood swing and decide I do want to do one, which I don't think I'm going to. Part of this certainly is also related to just still being sleepy in the wrong time. Let's see. And let's see. Do I have any news? Because actually I think I'm just going to end the stream here. Let me just look real quick. There was a tweet by Scott Snyder that goes, somebody asked me yesterday what I thought the worst comic of the year was for some piece they were doing. All I can think is, why the hell would you waste energy on such a negative question when you could be celebrating comics you enjoyed this year? Classic new indie in I suppose it is an artist's prerogative to ignore a critic, but I would, as a critic, suggest that if you can't see that somebody in your industry did less than perfect, you've probably got your head up your own butt, and you should reevaluate that. But whatever, if that's how you want to do your art, and that's how you make your art, that's your prerogative, I suppose. I saw a YouTube video explaining Neptunia to me a little bit better, so now I kind of have an idea of how I would play the Neptunia series, although that doesn't probably change anything, because I also realize the Neptunia series is sometimes made by the Senran Kagura group of game developers, and thus there's some exploding clothing going on there that would definitely be a consideration. TechRaptor gave the 5th episode of the Council a 5.0. It says the Council's final episode fails to deliver a satisfying ending, nor a strong episode to a season that desperately needed it. Pros: Gregory is an interesting character, cool art. Cons: ultimately unsatisfying story. Mechanics become too easy, very short, weird animations. So, I think that's where we'll leave that. Let's see. The one major story is Blizzard is linking for one of the competitions called the Overwatch Contenders. They're forcing people on Twitch, if they want to chat, to link their battle.net accounts. This is so that they can, quote, curb toxic chat, or maybe that's not actually a quote, but that's the general idea. So, in other words, if you say something they don't like, you could potentially lose access to your battle.net account and all the games you've purchased inside of it. This is certainly one of the downsides of a games as service, where a company can pull the rug out from under you. I could imagine a lot of people spending a lot of money on battle.net Blizzard games. Like, if you spend a lot on Diablo, if you spend a lot on World of Warcraft, if you spend a lot on loot boxes in Overwatch, if you spend a lot on Hearthstone, and then you go into this Twitch chat and say something that they don't like, or use a banned Pepe meme because they think all Pepe memes mean the same thing, and you lose your account, that's crazy. That sounds unfair completely.
Move quickly.
The growing story is certainly companies trying to work with other companies and expand their control and reach in other ways, so that they can censor speech not only on their own platforms, which it would almost be, it would be normal, yeah, it'd be totally normal for battle.net to censor or monitor the chat through battle.net's own chat app. It's completely out of the normal to say you have to connect it. This is the equivalent of China's rule, where every gamer has to use a Chinese government ID so that you can always be monitored. Or Korea's rule is the same way, where you have to use a government ID for to play any online games or any kind of games. But in America, where freedom of speech should still exist and be protected, it really is going to get down to the point where the US government is going to have to get on the right side of history instead of the wrong side of history, and force these companies to do not censor their own services, because in the end, if this continues to go the way it is, sure, theoretically you might have freedom of speech, but where? In your own room? If you shout into a pillow really quietly, if you whispered into a pillow, there's your freedom of speech. But as soon as you speak loud enough that somebody can hear through your wall, that's not freedom of speech anymore, and that's been eroded certainly a lot. And normally we get into a bigger rant about that. Gamasutra has an article: Black Mirror creators broke Netflix script writing tool with Bandersnatch. I don't know why you would break the script writing tool with that game. That seems real unrealistic. I'm almost certainly going to play some stuff off screen too. This will be an interesting experiment too. It's just like, oh, this video is barely gonna be 10 minutes long, like 30-minute long episode. There is also some weirdness. Let's go ahead and just show the quests on the European and Asian account also. There definitely is some weirdness about the fact that Netflix had this agreement with Telltale, and then as soon as Telltale fell apart, they were able to program something to do the exact same. It feels like this was not probably done in a clean room emulation of the technology. It feels like somebody who worked on Minecraft story mode that was working with Netflix was taking notes and then passing those notes directly to the developers of Black Mirror. Maybe that's not really true, but it certainly feels like something is there. So here we can play a game with a rogue and just get 1 victory, and that should be enough for now, or get 2 victories if we want to get ambitious. But yeah, that really just boils down to speculation on my part. Yeah, there's an anime girl slide puzzle that came out on Steam. We can mention that and close that.
Gather round, everyone.
Let's see.
The fun's about to start.
But I'm really just gonna keep a lot of these games for Wednesday. I'm thinking Wednesday will be better. And here we have the Asian account is already celebrating the New Year, so I took rank 18, not bad. I think we will possibly make it to rank 17 next month. Yeah, Gamatsu has an article, Monster Hunter World X Assassin's Creed collaboration announced. This is probably just some in-game items. That's what it looks like. Alright. 3 Tavern Brawls for 60. Mage and Druid. Let's see, roll that. Damage. And see, I'll be back on Wednesday, so I'm gonna have to do this one and this one off screen. And with that, that's where I'm gonna end this stream, because I'm gonna fall asleep otherwise, and I really don't have anything to talk about. So just a quick update. It was either stream now for 30 minutes or stream at like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. which I don't think anybody would have been watching that at the end of the year. Happy New Year to everybody. As always, I ask that you like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Should be easy for this one. If you want to friend or follow me, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me, there's links to Patreon or Steam wish lists. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.